Antonio Conte has this evening left Inter Milan as rumours about the Italian man taking up the post at Spurs intensify. Today we'll be talking about those rumours plus updates on Tottenham's transfer window as Alistair Gold claims that Sergio Aurier and Moussa Sissoko are set to leave, and Jack Pitbrook and Fabrizio Romano say that Joachim Andersen has chosen Spurs to be his next club. Before we do get into those stories, if you are new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button for more updates on Tottenham's pursuit of a manager, plus the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series coming back this summer. We're looking to get to 7,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, and we are currently about 30 away, so please do smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And look, let's just dive straight into things. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about transfers first, because we've already uploaded a video on the managerial situation today. So we'll talk transfers, and then we'll take a look at Antonio Conte, some updates we've got on him since that video this morning, and we'll continue to talk about him and other options for the managerial role. First of all, let's welcome a few people here to the stream. We've got Turson Y was in here earlier saying Conte or Ten Hag as manager and Rangnick as sporting director. Please make this happen, Levy. And on the point of sporting director, we do have some reports from Italy that we'll touch on with regards to the Juventus sporting director who left earlier today. Jack says, just seen Sky reporter state that Spurs have not spoken to Conte and are looking for a less volatile manager. Ali Gold also confirmed we're not looking at Conte. We'll talk about that a bit more as we do go on. We've got Lucas IDK, we've got the Euro expert here as well, says, can't lie, I think Conte to the Spurs will be a step sideways. I'm sure a lot of people do feel like that. Alex, it's good to see you here in the live chat, and we'll talk about that again in a while. We've got Ndangi, Kodak, Caleb, Mohammed, Maya, Adam, Paul, and Bjorn in here as well. Paul says, big up for all your hard work, Matty. Paul, I appreciate that. Thank you for your support in the channel. I see you always in those live chats for the Spurs content creators, so we do appreciate that. And look, let's start with the story that we all want to get out of the way, and that is an update on the future of Harry Kane. And Fabrizio Romano has today said that there's no chance that Harry Kane will join a non-English team. So Romano 100% confident that Harry Kane will remain in the Premier League as he seeks a move away from Spurs. So what Romano said he said, no chance of Kane to a non-English club. Let's see what happens with Chelsea. He is City's first target and they want to open talks. So Romano not yet ruling out the potential that Harry Kane could make the journey across London to Chelsea, but Manchester City at the moment is his most likely destination. We heard when Sky Sports initially broke the news that Harry Kane wanted to leave, that 3 clubs had been in contact. They were Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea. And I think we all realised straight away that if he was going to go to any of those teams, it would be Manchester City. I feel if he goes to City, that's the league done for the next 2-3 years. Without a doubt, they'll run away with that. And from a Spurs fan point of view, of course, I don't want to see him go. Obviously, as every fan would, he wants to see him stay. But if he were to go to another Premier League club, I feel like City is our best option, because if we're looking at the teams that we're trying to compete with and the teams we're trying to catch up with, I think we are much further behind Manchester City than any of those other clubs. So by giving him to Manchester City, I don't think we're directly affecting our chances in domestic competition. Whereas if he were to go to Manchester United or Chelsea, which I don't think will happen, we are pulling a team further away from us, because in losing our star player, we're also giving them someone who will be their star player. And I feel like that would be a big mistake from Daniel Levy. But look, we know in the past he has sold to rivals. We've got Brian Daigle in the house. Good evening, Matt. How are you, Brian? I'm absolutely fantastic. Thank you for tuning in. We've got Will saying we want a softer, gentler manager. We do indeed, Will, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. I got a few more channel members in here as well. We got Wayne Bonner says whoever the new manager is, he has to be able to choose the players he wants, not who the board want, in order for progression. We got an update from Fabrizio Romano, something on that earlier on. We got James Watson joining in here as well. Bradley says if Poch comes back, there's more chance Kane will stay. And we got a wonderful super chat here from Will Stewart bringing the $10. Will, thank you so much. You are an absolute hero. Says I hear the Onion is reporting that Tottenham Hotspur are in talk Martha Stewart for the manager position, as she will use doilies and fluffy pillows in the dressing room. Well, look, who knows? It could be absolutely anybody for Spurs at the moment. But Will, thank you very much for that super chat. We got Brian Daigle here as well, becoming a channel member. Brian, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. The two of them, make sure to go over and check Will Stewart THFC Rants channel and Brian's Tottenham Away as well. Two incredible channels. And I can guarantee you'll be seeing the two of these guys on this channel very, very shortly. But to the two of you, thank you very, very much. Massively appreciated. Anyone else, if you do want to guarantee your comments are read out, do make sure to pop in a super chat using the $ beside the live chat button, and we'll get to those straight away. We've been live here 5 minutes. There's already 170 people in here, which are crazy numbers. But if you do want to guarantee your comments are read out, you can become a channel member or put in a super chat, and we will get to those straight away. And look, I think the opinion around the Spurs fan base at the moment on Harry Kane is very, very split, and you'll be hard pushed to pluck two fans who kind of agree in the entire situation, because there's so many different ways to look at this. if Kane wants to go, first of all, whether or not he wants to go, then whether or not he will get a move as well. It's really up in the air at the moment. But for me, I still think Harry Kane will stay at the club this summer, but not of his own volition. I think he will want to move away. And like we've heard from so many different reporters, that he's not going to push for a move. He's not going to kind of do it the dirty way. He'll want to move. He'll ask for the move, and if he doesn't get it, he'll be professional and he'll give his best for Spurs on the pitch next season, because ultimately he's the one who signed the contract. He's the one who put pen to paper on a 6-year deal just 3 years ago. So I think any situation that he will find himself in, he'll only have himself to blame. Now, you could argue there's a lot that he was promised 3 years ago when he signed that contract that wasn't delivered. It was Pochettino who was at the helm back then. We hadn't yet gone 18 months without signing a player. And now here we are. We went that 18 months without signing a player. Cost Mauricio Pochettino his job ultimately. And since then, Jose Mourinho has been and gone. And now we're in a situation where we haven't had a manager for over a month. And nobody knows who the manager is going to be. If we're to believe reports from Alistair Gold of Football.London, the manager is going to be appointed in the next 7 days. And no one is any bit wiser on who that manager is going to be. So you can't deny that Harry Kane is in a very, very different situation now to what he was in when he did sign that contract. But he signed it, and he'll have to do what he has to do if he can't get that move away. Let me know in the live chat if you do think Harry Kane will get a move away from Spurs this summer. The big question is, if he does go, how much will it be? Because initial reports suggested that Spurs will be looking for 150 million pounds for him, and then it moved up to 200 million pounds. But a lot of people are saying that it is just negotiation tactics from Daniel Levy, trying to start out the bidding as high as he possibly can, and then work it down from there, and ultimately get the 150 million that he initially wanted. We got Neville Mergen here coming in with the 99 South African rand. Thank you very, very much for that, Neville. Hugely appreciate it. If you want to pop a message in the chat there in a second, I'll make sure to get to that if you did miss it out. But Neville, thank you very, very much for that support. We got Bradley saying, my final 3 managers is Poch, Conte, Potter, in that order. I think I'd be the same order in those 3 as well. I would absolutely love to see Poch back. We got Alex in here again, says, not sure if I'm late, but I think Conte would be a horrible appointment. It'd be very, very interesting to get your take on that, Alex, but we'll be moving on to the manager a little bit later. Just move on to another story from Alistair Gold, and that is with regards to the futures of Serge Aurier and Moussa Sissoko. And he said on his YouTube channel yesterday that Aurier and Sissoko will probably be leaving Tottenham this summer. Look, I don't think it comes much as a surprise to any fan, and certainly it won't come as a disappointment to any of us. The two of them have had very, very poor seasons. Aurier started out very well, and I think was at his best really when Moussa Sissoko was playing in the right side of a 3 in midfield, and the two of them kind of operated together to form a fully functioning right back. But without the other there, I think the two of them do look as though they're missing a right foot, and they're volatile players. They're simply not what we want at Spurs, and not what we need, because we need calm, cool heads at the moment, players who can cope under pressure. And I don't think either of these players have proved to be that. And they both have their qualities. I think Sissoko at times has been a very important midfielder for us. And like I said, Serge Aurier at the beginning of the season did show his qualities, and I think was a big part of that Jose Mourinho side that managed to get top of the table until everything fell apart. So I think for the two of them, I imagine it'll be a move to France or a move to Italy, and I've no doubt they'll do well when they do go there, because their qualities and their abilities are probably better suited to those countries. And I'll be very happy to see them go. As Derek says here, I'll drive them to the airport. James says, glad to see Aurier go. We've Neville here says, great chat, bud. Really enjoy the discussion. Spurs supporter since the 80s. Want to see us one day win something. Well, you've been suffering as a Spurs supporter for much longer than me, Neville. But thank you for the kind words, and thank you as always for the support. Aaron says, best striker in the world, golden boot, English tax, strengthen a rival, 3 years left on deal, 150 minimum is a minimum surely for Kane. I think you're going along the right lines there. It's not... It's never as simple as this player is playing this well, let's pay this much. There's always more to it than that, and I feel like you've hit the nail on the head there. But yeah, look, that's it. Just a quick discussion on Aurier and Sissoko, because there's not really too much to discuss there. There's no mention of targets or anything on that one yet. It is just simply Alistair Gold letting us know that they will probably be moving on this summer. Now, it did mention a potential sporting director for Spurs, and that is Fabio Paratici, who this afternoon left Juventus after 11 years as sporting director. And it is Tuttosport, the Italian newspaper, who are claiming that Tottenham are interested in appointing him as their new sporting director as they look to completely restructure their recruitment process. A lot of fans have been calling for this for Spurs, getting a sporting director, director of football, whatever it is, just someone to replace Steve Hitchen and Daniel Levy in charge of the recruitment. I think the ideal candidate for us all would be Luis Campos, with Ralph Rangnick a close second, but Fabio Paratici is being rumoured to be the man at the moment. And again, that is according to Italian source Tuttosport. Not the most reliable out there, but in Italy, I think we have to take the Italian sources a bit more seriously in the Italian side of things. And there's a lot more to discuss about Juventus today, because with Antonio Conte leaving Inter Milan and Fabio Paratici leaving Juventus, there's a lot of room for manoeuvre in and around there with the future of Andrea Pirlo, the Juventus manager, who this season missed out on the title for the first time in 10 years, and courtesy of Napoli dropping points against Hellas Verona on the last day of the season, just about scraped into that top four. But he did also irk Cristiano Ronaldo a bit by leaving him out of the final day squad completely, just the fifth time in 3 years that Ronaldo was benched. So there's quite a bit going on with Juventus at the moment. Now, Fabio Paratici going, that does throw Andrea Pirlo's future into doubt. And there's this managerial merry-go-round that is really heating up now and could create some sort of domino effect. So you're looking at Andrea Pirlo, of course, currently the Juventus manager, could be sacked. You have Antonio Conte leaving Inter Milan, and Massimiliano Allegri, who has been free since he left Juventus in 2017. All of a sudden, you're wondering which manager is going to go where. But then you bring into consideration the current situation of Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid. He could potentially be moving on as well, with Allegri apparently the number one choice for them. However, they have in the past approached Antonio Conte, who turned them down. They could potentially revisit that this summer. So between Conte and Allegri, there's quite a few jobs out there that could go to either one of them. And it's certainly going to be a very interesting summer. I think Zidane is in a similar situation now as to what Antonio Conte was before today, in that he is quite expected to leave the role that he's in. It's just a matter of time. Zidane said recently that he feels as though Real Madrid will be better without them. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. And look, Zidane is also being tipped to be the next Spurs manager. Now, what that could potentially mean for the future of Gareth Bale is all over the place, but we will touch on that in a second. Wayne says, sporting director of football. Doesn't matter who comes in for that role. I can't see Levy relinquishing any control, and that is the biggest concern. And there was an update from Fabrizio Romano today on, I think it was on the point of Gareth Bale, and he essentially said any transfers will be sorted after the new Spurs manager comes in. And the phrase he used was something about the board will decide on transfers. I'll get the direct quote here from him. He said the board will decide on new signings when the managerial situation is resolved. So I do think at Spurs there will always be that element of Daniel Levy trying to hold on to the control of those transfers. But just the main point at hand here is that Tuttosport in Italy are reporting that Tottenham want Fabio Paratici as their new sporting director, as the club look to change their operating structure in the recruitment policy. Let me know if there's any other sporting directors you'd want. As we already mentioned, Luis Campos and Ralph Rangnick. Would you take Fabio Paratici? 11 years he was at Inter Milan. During that time, they, of course, won 9 Scudettos, which is an incredible run of form, ended this year by Antonio Conte, who is being widely tipped to be the next Spurs manager. Christopher here says, we know how irreplaceable Kane is, but say Man City came in with like a 90 million and a player like Laporte, would you consider it? I think that is the most viable way for any team to buy Harry Kane this summer. It is with a fee and a player in there as well. And Laporte was incredible for Manchester City this season before last, but has been frozen out essentially this season by Ruben Diaz and John Stones. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking to move him on. And we, of course, need a centre back. So it depends what will happen there. And you're looking at strikers that we may sign, and all of a sudden the futures of Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez are in doubt, because, as we'll touch on a bit more in a little bit, Antonio Conte wanted to keep them at Inter Milan, and one of the reasons why he left is that may not be possible. So there could be 2 very, very good strikers on the market if things don't go to plan there at Inter Milan. Another transfer story I want to touch on quickly is Tottenham's potential pursuit of a right back. And L'Equipe in France are reporting that Tottenham are interested in Lille right back Zeki Celik. Now, this is a story that we've heard a few windows in a row, and I think we're going to see a lot of Premier League clubs and a lot of European clubs linked to the players currently at Lille. They, of course, won the French league at the weekend with a 2-1 win against Angers, defeating Mauricio Pochettino's PSG. They're only the second time they failed to win the title in the last 10 years. And Zeki Celik is one of a number of players who was attracting a lot of interest from around Europe. The Turkish right back played 29 times for Lille this season, scoring 3 and assisting 3, and was, as a lot of those players were, a very important part to them keeping 21 clean sheets throughout the French league season, and forming one of the best defences, one that, like I said, defeated PSG to the title, which people always criticise the French league and say that the quality isn't great, but I think between 20th and 2nd, you can argue the quality there, but once you get above PSG, there's a lot of credit that needs to go into that one. And even the Lille manager has actually left. Christophe Galtier today was confirmed to be departing Lille. It's looking likely that he will move to Nice, who I think finished 9th in the French table this season, but there's looking to be a lot of departures from Lille this summer. Could Zeki Celik be one of them? And if it is, could he be on his way to Spurs? We got a super chat here from Brian Daigle. Brian, again, thank you very, very much. You're a hero. Says, we aren't getting Zidane or Conte. The reason is they will stand up to Levy and tell him exactly how it is. He wants lapdogs and puppets on strings he can control. And I suppose that brings us nicely into the report from Kaveh Salakal on Sky Sports earlier today, talking about the Antonio Conte situation. And he said Tottenham are looking for a softer manager, someone with a personality who is easier to manage than Antonio Conte. And we've Govan here bringing in the exact quote. Spurs are not looking to appoint Conte. The club want a softer manager with a personality that would be easier to manage. Daniel Levy wants to maintain that control that he has over, I suppose, that he had over Ryan Mason over the last month or so. You can imagine Levy was behind a lot of the players who were included in those starting 11s. You're looking at Dele Alli and Harry Winks, who could potentially have been in the shop window ahead of a move this summer. Is that something Daniel Levy wants to maintain? Well, if Sky Sports are to be believed, it certainly is. And Antonio Conte, as Brian says, would not take that. The reason he is leaving Inter Milan is that while he wants to keep 8 key players that he feels are pivotal to Inter Milan retaining the Italian title, the club actually met for crisis meetings over the last couple of days with their chairman holding the final meetings in their training ground today, and they want to raise money to invest in their youth system. They want to reduce their wage bill by 15 to 20%, and they want to sell players worth up to £70 million this summer, and that is where players like Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez could potentially become available for Spurs if Harry Kane does move on. And then you're looking at other targets we've had there, including Milan Skriniar, who was one of those 8 players that Conte wanted to keep, despite his how we wanted to move him on last summer. Things have turned around very, very well for Milan Skriniar there. We've got Steve here coming in, brilliant mod channel member as well. Steve, thank you for tuning in. We'll come back to the Antonio Conte story in a little bit, but the next story, just finish up in the Zeki Celik one as well. He is keen to play in the Premier League. Just 24 years of age, has a very good future ahead of him. And that is one that I really think we should keep an eye on, kind of partnered with the Alistair Gold story that Sergio Aurier will probably be leaving this summer. I think Zeki Celik is a target that Spurs should be looking at, and one that I'd be very, very happy to see. Martin here says, what about Christophe Galtier? Has he now left Lille? I'm not sure if he has left, but it's confirmed that he will be leaving. But it looks very likely that he will be moving on to Nice. There are actually 2 clubs in France and 1 in Italy who are interested in him. The Italian club is Napoli, who of course parted ways with Gennaro Gattuso following their failure to qualify for the Champions League. But it looks like Galtier will be staying in France, with Nice the most likely option there for him. So Spurs had been in for him, but it doesn't look as though that is going to happen. Jack Pitbrook of The Athletic UK is saying that Joachim Andersen has decided to join Spurs. An agreement still needs to be found with his parent club Lyon, but Andersen had an incredible season at Fulham last year despite their relegation, and he wants to stay in the Premier League, and Spurs are interested. It looks as though Andersen has chose to stay in the capital and to join whatever manager will be at Spurs next season and try and improve our defence. I think he'll be a brilliant player to partner alongside Joe Rodon, Toby Alderweireld, Japhet Tanganga, as we look to kind of build a new look defence from the one that failed last season. I don't think Eric Dyer or Davinson Sanchez should be anywhere near that defence, and maybe Joachim Andersen is the commanding physical centre back that we need to bring in to kind of steady the ship at the back. So fingers crossed that can happen. Now, Fabrizio Romano also chimed in on this story, and he said Tottenham are pushing to sign Andersen. He is their main centre-back target. Spurs are really interested compared to other clubs. So as is expected, given the incredible season Joachim Andersen had at Fulham this year, there are a whole host of European clubs and Premier League clubs interested in bringing the Dane to their grounds, but Spurs are the most interested, and it does look as though Andersen has chosen them. He's a player that we've spoken about quite a bit on this channel, and there'll be plenty of videos there if you do want to go and look at the type of player he is and just what he could bring to Spurs. I would advise you to do that, because this is a transfer that if I was a betting man, I'd be putting my money on I'll be putting my money on that one this summer. As Steve says here, subscribe to Matt's channel if you haven't already to stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Literally all things Tottenham is the best way to put that. Our pursuit of a manager is taking the forefront at the moment, but we'll be going through the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series over the summer as well, will bring you stories from all the reliable sources. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Hoping to get to 7,000 followers, 7,000 subscribers by the end of the day. We're currently 24 off, so please do hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like as well. Let's see if we can get this stream to 100 likes. We're currently at 70. We have another super chat here from Brooklyn Bound 1000. Says, any news on Danny Rose? Yes, he's been irrelevant for the past year, but we can't forget his contributions, including the semi-final versus Ajax. I think it is ending as we expected with Danny Rose. There's no talk of a contract extension, and I can't imagine that is going to change. I do think we'll see Danny Rose move on and move on very, very quickly. And like you say, incredible contributions to the club. He did have some bad moments with the interviews he did with the Sun and that, but during his prime, he was an incredible servant to the club. And while I can't say it'll be sad to see him go, we will remember the great moments he did have at Spurs. But thank you very much for that super chat, Brooklyn Bound. Really, really do appreciate it. All those really do help to support the channel. Before we get on to some kind of minor stories on potential incomings, just to touch quickly on Gareth Bale. And a lot of people may have seen the story that Gareth Bale is planning to negotiate his contract to be terminated with Real Madrid so he can retire after the Euros and pursue a professional career in golf. Yeah, that was a genuine story. It's rubbish. Jonathan Barnett, Gareth Bale's agent, was on TalkSport, and he said that much, that it simply isn't true. And I think Fabrizio Romano echoed that sentiment as well, before he continued to say that Tottenham will hold talks over Gareth Bale when their new head coach is appointed. And I would imagine the managerial situation at Real Madrid also holds a lot of power over where Gareth Bale will be next season. Bale has said he knows what he wants to do, but he won't announce it until after the Euros, as it will, quote, cause chaos. So it's very interesting to see exactly what he thinks will cause chaos and exactly how he thinks the situation is going to be resolved. I think any Spurs fan would be foolish not to welcome him back, but perhaps we could negotiate those wages down a little bit, because we're currently paying £220,000 a week to keep Gareth Bale on our books. And while he's been incredible when he has been on the pitch, the problem is getting him on the pitch enough to warrant that much money being paid. And Real Madrid still paying $380,000. I think it's something that will have to be negotiated. But the best goals per minute ratio in the Premier League this season, managed to pick up a hat-trick against Sheffield United, scored some very important goals for us. I really would love to see him come back to Spurs. And then when his contract expires with Real Madrid at the end of next season, potentially sign him up as a free agent and maybe even reduce that fee, that wage fee, a little bit more. But only time will tell in this one. I think we'll see rumours of him staying and leaving as the summer goes on. But Bale knows what he wants to do, and we will find out what that is after the summer. Martin, tuning in. Thanks, Martin. Always good to see you. Says, who do you reckon Spurs will buy in the summer? I think we need to wait and see who our manager is before we do kind of start talking particular names. But if we had to pick one at the moment, it would be Joachim Andersen. I do think we'll see him sign for Spurs this summer, hopefully along with another centre-back, maybe pick up a midfielder and another attacker as well, and see where we go from there. Probably need a right-back if Sissoko Aurier is going to be leaving as well. But as for particular names, I think we'll have to wait a bit before we do start speculating on that. Brian says, I know for a fact Danny Rose is going. I have a connection with a family member and know that he's gone. Well, Brian there coming in with the inside sources. Danny Rose will be moving on from Spurs this summer. Thank you very much for bringing that to us, Brian. Steve says Danny Rose needs to leave. He's part of the deadwood that we need to clear out as a club, and I feel there are a lot of players who do fall into that bracket. But yeah, as for Gareth Bale, it's a waiting game at the moment and trying to figure out whether or not he will be staying. But we will find out for sure after the Euros. Now, there's a few more kind of smaller stories that I wanted to touch on, but not discuss too much because they're from either sources that aren't realistic or aren't reliable, or sources that I haven't heard of. And the first one is from a German outlet called Kicker, who said that Gregor Kobel is close to leaving Stuttgart, with Tottenham a potential destination. The goalkeeper is expected to cost 15 to 20 million euro. Goal are reporting that Tottenham are keen on signing Wilfried Zaha this summer. And La Gazzetta dello Sport say that Tottenham are in the race to sign Fiorentina centre-back Nikola Milenkovic. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Gennaro Gattuso has just taken over Fiorentina following his dismissal from Napoli. But Nikola Milenkovic, a potential centre-back target for Spurs this summer, as he has been for the last two transfer windows as well. In a similar position as Joachim Andersen, there are quite a few videos up on this channel already talking about Milenkovic, who he is as a player and what he could bring to the club. So make sure to check those out if you haven't already. Now, before we get into the manager, before we get into Antonio Conte, Erik ten Hag, Graham Potter, Ralph Rangnick, Mauricio Pochettino, all that good stuff. Before we do get into that, please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said, trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. Where we have 326 people in here right now. We've had 1,500 in here before we so far. So please do smash that subscribe button. Brian, here in the live chat, if you want, I'll send you the link if you want to come on here and chat managers with me. I'd love to have you on. And Will, if you're still there as well, Will, just drop me a message on Twitter and I'll send you on the link. I'd love to have the two of you on to talk managers. But please do, while we're waiting for that, smash the subscribe button, everyone, and smash that like button. And look, let's talk about Conte. Antonio Conte this evening left Inter Milan following their Scudetto, winning the Serie A for the first time in 11 years. Milan released a statement earlier today saying FC Internazionale Milano can confirm that an agreement has been reached with Antonio Conte for the termination of his contract by mutual consent. The club would like to thank Antonio for the extraordinary work that he has done, culminating in Inter's 19th top-flight title. Antonio Conte will forever remain a part of the club's history. I put out a video this morning before this had been confirmed saying that I think Antonio Conte will be the next manager of Spurs. And it was a bold claim. I'm not going to deny that. He's currently the betting favourite at 7-4 to be the next Spurs manager, followed closely by Erik ten Hag and Roberto Martinez. And Mauricio Pochettino, who was as short as 2-1 yesterday, is now back out at 7-1 ahead of Graham Potter at 8-1, and a few wide outsiders there coming in on the list as well. Look, like Michael says, it doesn't mean he's going to Spurs. It absolutely, just because he's leaving Inter, doesn't mean he's going to Spurs. But I have a very good feeling about this. I really do think we could see Antonio Conte come into Spurs next season. And the argument is he's leaving Inter Milan, as we said, because they want to raise funds of up to £70 million by selling players this window, and also reduce their wage fee by 15 to 20%. Why would he leave a situation like that when investment is the problem, to come into a very similar situation where investment is the problem at Spurs? And the only answer I can really give to that is Daniel Levy knows how to convince a manager. He knows how to convince someone to come to Spurs. He did it with Jose Mourinho with a lot of promises that I could bet a lot of money he did not follow up on, whether that was in terms of how much money he'd invest or how much control Jose might have over recruitment. Levy knows the right things to say. He always knows the right things to say. Spurs fans have found him out with the whole Super League situation and a lot of what has gone on this season. But I do think Daniel Levy could potentially bring Antonio Conte to Spurs, and it'll probably end up the same way Jose's ended up, but maybe with a bit more success. And that's probably me being a lot more hopeful than realistic, but I think Antonio Conte will be the next manager of Spurs. I really do. And it's the first time since the first week of this managerial pursuit that I've felt confident about a certain manager coming in. Initially, I thought it was going to be Erik ten Hag. I've been kind of feeling it could be Graham Potter recently, but I do feel as though it could be Antonio Conte. Jack says Sky don't agree, or Ali Gold. From what they've said, neither of them think he's a target at the moment. But what I will say is Alistair Gold, every time he speaks about the manager, reiterates that it could be someone we don't know about. It literally could be anybody. Even Fabrizio Romano today said the situation is so open, you can't rule anybody out. And if there's one thing Daniel Levy knows to do, it's how to get deals done under the radar. It's how to keep it from everybody that something is going to happen. But look, let's get the absolute legend himself, Brian Daigle, in here to talk about Antonio Conte. First of all, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. How are you getting on?
I'm okay, my man. I'm okay. Thanks for having me on, mate. How are you doing?
I'm all good. I'm enjoying this managerial hunt, as I know a lot of Spurs fans aren't. But look, Brian, good to have you on as always. But what do you think about Antonio Conte as the next Spurs manager?
So, Antonio Conte, obviously, he done very, very well at Chelsea. Obviously, he's a hothead. He's a firehead. He's got that Italian streak in him. I personally didn't have him at the top of the list, but I could see why we wanted him, and he would have been a great appointment. But the reason we're not going to get him is because we know he will stand up to Levy. And what's really got to me is Levy came out with the apology and these program notes. And there's even that rumour that this next appointment is going to test us financially. Now, we don't know if that's compensation. We don't know if that's transfer budget. And as soon as it's linked, it's put out straight away. He just wants puppets and lapdogs. Like I said, the main reason I wanted Conte, because I thought that would have been a shoo-in that we get Skriniar. But But Real Madrid, I just can't see him coming. And it's just that we're not going to get a hothead. We're not going to get someone that can tell Levy how it is, because he won't have it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest, if not the only, stumbling block of this situation, is that it's not going to work well with Daniel Levy. And look, I think I felt the same with Jose Mourinho, that it was always going to end sourly between him and Levy, and ultimately it did. But look, I think the worst part is we don't really know what direction the club want to go with this. We know they said we want a Pochettino-like manager, but what exactly is that? Because Pochettino was a manager who had never won a trophy when we appointed him, and when we sacked him, ultimately he never won a trophy. So while we would like to see a bit of a rebuild, we also want to see a bit more ambition. We've got Killian Kenny here saying, I'm here, how's things? Killian, so good to see you in the live chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. Who will be our next coach? I think Conte, but not a lot of people agree with me. So we'll have to wait and see where that one goes. We've got the Irish Hotspur here, says 362 watching, only 120 likes. Smash that button. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. Smash that like button. Let's see if we can get to 150. Just to look at a few of the headlines from today surrounding Antonio Conte. I have here written that Romano claimed Conte was going to leave Inter, but that has since been confirmed. Alistair Gold says, unless something has drastically changed in the last 24 hours, Conte is not currently a candidate for the job. Sky Sports said that Tottenham are looking for a softer personality, someone who is easier to manage than Antonio Conte. And La Stampa, an Italian outlet, have gone the complete opposite direction and said Tottenham have offered Conte a salary close to €20 million annually to become their new head coach. He currently receives 13 million at Inter. Aside from Conte,
makes me laugh, Matt. This is what makes me laugh. Sorry to cut in there. Apparently, we don't have any money and we have to sell to buy. But apparently, we have 5 million extra to offer Conte than what Jose was on. We didn't have any money, and that's why we didn't get Dybala image rights. But we found 14 million to sack Poch, which was the Dybala money, and then offer, I think it was 110,000 more to Mourinho than Poch was on. He says these things, and it doesn't even take him a week to backtrack. It's like he thinks we've all got dementia or something, and we're going to forget it. It's got to the point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like I was saying a second ago. He knows the right things to say at the right time, but it's just kind of backing that up seems to be his biggest issue, which is heartbreaking to see as a fan. But aside from Conte, what candidates are you looking at the moment as, first of all, ones that you'd want to see, and then second of all, the realistic candidates, because I'm sure they're very different.
Well, I've always wanted Ten Hag. I've said it even before we got Mourinho. Oh, sorry, during the Mourinho age. And the reason I want him is, if I was Daniel Levy, he does everything I want to do. He brings youth through, he develops them, he plays great football. But the only reason I want Ten Hag is if he could not take all of his backroom staff, but set up the same kind of network. So he has his scouts and they're his, not by the club. Everything is set up his way. Then I thought it would be the right appointment. But obviously we know how that happens. Joe, I've gone looking at managers all the way out there because, let's face it, the fact that we're linked with the Potters, who I'll talk about more in a moment because he is the one that I've now put my hat in the ring for realistically. We're looking at the Parkers, the Gareth Southgates, the Roberto. These aren't big managers. They may represent countries and whatever, but we know Roberto Martinez, his big problem has been defending, and look at the shambles we have at the moment. So how is that going to improve? The thing that bugs me the most with Tottenham, I'll get onto Potter in a minute, is Tottenham have no identity. If you look at Liverpool, when they got rid of Brendan Rodgers, who played attacking, expansive football, they're right, we want to carry this on, let's get Klopp in. And other teams do that. Now, if you look at us, we go AVB, defensive, Poch, attacking, Mourinho, defensive, Mason, attacking. It's like, so what you're doing with that is you're attacking players and buying the players to fit in their system. Then a defensive manager comes in where he goes, I've got too many players that don't play my position. Then we go, I just want to see, obviously I want it to be attacking, but if we go defensive, just stick to that for a while so the players that come in suit the method and the philosophy of the next manager, just to establish some kind of continuity. But the reason I'm saying Graham Potter is he plays very, very good football. And what he's doing with Brighton, can you imagine if a Brighton had a Harry Kane or a striker that scored 15, 20 goals, religiously? They play great football. I've learned a lot more about him. He's got a degree in psychology or higher than a degree, so he knows how to get into the players and produce them. If you look at the 4 games he's played against us, they battered us 3-0 when Hugo Lloris got his horrible injury. They played us off the park. Then we beat them 2-1 when Dele Alli scored that lovely chip goal on Boxing Day, but they played us off the park. When we beat them 2-1 at Brighton at home this year, when Gareth Bale got his first header, they played us off the park. And then obviously they beat us at Brighton. And I see a lot of people saying that he doesn't. Look at him. Brighton finished at this 16th, 17th, wherever it is. But it's like the players that he's got may not have that. They're battling against the drop. Is us trying to get into the top four. So their pressures and their mentality may not be as big. You know what I mean? The players' mentality at Tottenham, I would hope, are more geared up and more razor sharp than what Brighton are. We know disrespect to Brighton, but they have different objectives. And you look at it, we took a shot with Poch. Let's face it, Poch came into Southampton. No one knew of him because of England, giving the penalty away to Michael Owen in the World Cup in 2002. He went to Southampton. He did what he says, and he always said, "I like to bring through youth from this country." Don't get me wrong, Southampton always have a great youth network. So he was half the battle. They played great football. Hardly learned the language, or hardly knew the language, and he was an unknown quantity. And we struck gold. So we keep taking a risk with these big managers, and it's not working. So I'm realistically saying that I want Graham Potter, but only because I don't think we can attract anyone. Because who wants to work with Levy?
Yeah, that is it. The one man who needs to fix this for us is the one reason that it probably won't be fixed. It's a vicious circle. But on the point you made there about the different managers, players being in there, Steve here says whoever we get needs to be given a good 3 to 4 years to rebuild the shambles that is our current squad. This coming transfer window isn't going to be enough. And what the biggest concern for me is you have players in that team you have some Pochettino players, you have some Mourinho players, which is bad enough, but you've got some Daniel Levy players in there as well. Because there are definitely some players that we have signed in the last couple of years that Poch or Jose did not want. So there's this disgusting combination of different philosophies and different wants, different styles of football, all merged into one. And that's not going to be fixed in a year. That's not going to be fixed in 2 years. It mightn't even be fixed in 3 years. We could have one good season.
You've got to add the other thing, Matt. Any manager coming in right now, their first questions is Kane leaving and is signing this new contract? Yeah. And if they say, well, Kane's out the door, and Son, who's going to want to come if you know you're going to lose your 2 stars? And I would love Poch back. I would love back at any time, but I just don't want it to be under Levy, because Toby and Dyer are the 2 of the people that wanted him out, so their attitude's going to stink. And if I was Poch, I would want everything, and I mean everything, in writing to say you are going to have control of transfers. This, because what's going to change? What's going to change under him?
I think everything is going to change initially, but then as soon as things start to go wrong, it's going to be back to the normal. Essentially what happened with Jose Mourinho, from what we can see from the outside anyway. Look, another candidate that is being mentioned in Sky Sports yesterday said that Spurs are in talks with Roberto Martinez and have continued to be in talks for the last 2 weeks. There's one thing I want to say about Roberto Martinez, and he has a 30% win ratio in the Premier League. Yep. That straight away for me is it's just not good enough. Yes, some of those games were at Swansea and some of them were at Wigan, but he still has a 30% win ratio in the league. That is woeful. He absolutely failed at Everton. And people say, well, yeah, but he's done well at Belgium. Has he? He has one of the strongest international squads of the last 5-6 years. And he managed to get to semi-final of a World Cup. And that's one thing that people say, well, he got to the semi-final of a World Cup, so he is good enough for Spurs. They're the same people laughing at the thought of us appointing Gareth Southgate, who got to the semi-final of the same World Cup. I think you can pick and choose different things and kind of twist them to suit your own narrative. And look, everybody's guilty of it. A lot of the time it is a subconscious thing, but Roberto Martinez is for me a shocking option and one that we need to avoid at all costs. And look, then the question comes in, who are these candidates that Alistair Gold is saying we may not know about who could come into the mix? Is there anyone that isn't really in the mainstream media as a suggestion that you think we've cut it up, Brian?
Do you know what? It's got to the point now, whereas over the last few, like everyone knows my Levy stance, but there's kind of, up until the last 2 years, I kind of understood I understood some of the reasons for some of the, it's got to the point now where I just don't have a clue what we're doing. I don't think at the club, I think there's a breakdown in communication in every single department. I don't think the left arm knows what the right arm is doing. And I saw, Roberto Martinez, yes, he plays some great football, but everywhere he's gone, it's been defence problem. And like I said, he's got to, when you talk about Belgium, The last time I remember seeing Belgium in anything is when David Platt scored that goal from a Gaza free kick in Italia 90. And then over the last 2-3 tournaments, obviously they had this golden generation like we have with England come through, and they've soared. I reckon anyone could go in. If you look at the Belgium best 11, a lot of people could go in there and say, yeah, all right, I could do something with this team. I saw Jurgen Klinsmann's name mentioned. Now I love Jurgen Klinsmann. I absolutely love him. My first season that I went to most of the home games, and I didn't get my season ticket that year. I got it the next year, but I went to pretty much every game of Klinsmann's at home and a few away. When that guy came, he was a revelation, and he is an absolute legend. There's no doubt about it. But I don't like bringing legend players back to manage the club, because if you look at it like the Hoddles and the Yardiles, they come there and they are so loved and so worshipped by us that if it goes wrong, it kind of taints their reputation. Don't get me wrong, Hoddle is still one of the greatest players. But when you talk Hoddle the player, you're like, oh my God, yes, amazing. He's one of the greatest you ever see. But when you mention the manager, it's something completely different. So I'm always against ex-players coming back. Like sometimes it works, like with Kenny Dalglish and Jules Graham did at Arsenal, but a lot of the time it doesn't. So I'm hoping Klinsmann's out the window. But this is the thing. We've gone through so many managers, Matt. When Alistair Gold says these ones, I don't think even Spurs know. I think they've got one of those Wheel of Fortunes, and it's just going around with different managers' names. And it's like, yeah, we'll go for him.
Yeah, it really does feel that way, because the fact that we're a month in and we're not any bit closer to knowing who it is says a lot. But on the point there about Klinsmann and not wanting to bring former players back, I think the same logic applies to Mauricio Pochettino for a lot of people. And you know, when I hear about the rumours of Poch, my heart all day long 100% will always say yes to getting him back. But my head is thinking it can't be as good as the first time. It just can't. And like it mightn't be like we could end up with an FA Cup or a League Cup, which on paper may be better than what we did achieve the first time. But the love that we had for him and exactly how everything fell together, because as much credit as Pochettino does deserve for what he did, so much came together for him and for Levy for things like that to happen. And there is a big element of luck about that, but it just can't be as good the second time. Now, we do have an update from Alistair Gold in the last 20 or so minutes, and he has said that Tottenham Hotspur will be hoping that 2 quick transfers free up funds to make a move for a new centre-back this summer. He said to us yesterday, Brian, that Moussa Sissoko and Serge Aurier could potentially be moving on this summer. Do you think those are the 2 transfers, or is there a lot more business to be done for Spurs to move players on?
Look, if you look at it, it's likely to be them, but they're both going into their last year of the contract. So what kind of money can they generate to, I mean, this is the one thing I will say about Levy in a good fashion, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but the one thing is he does know how to get money for a player. Like how he got 18 million for Wimmer, I'll never know. And he really did a number on it Inter Milan to get Eriksen. So them 2 look like they will be the main ones, but I don't know why. I've got a feeling one of them's Dele Alli.
Yeah. See, I think that is a concern that fans have had. He's been on the pitch the last couple of weeks, but was that just putting him in the shop window and trying to get him to move on?
Either trying to put him in the shop window or trying to get him a hair sponsorship. One of the two. One of the two. But it's got to the point. Dele Alli has been shocking for a few seasons. And if you look at going back to those 2 transfers, if it's to go back on signing a centre back, it did say centre back from Alistair Gold, money to put towards a centre. Okay. So first of all, do we know that's going to go towards a centre back? That's obviously what all the Spurs fans want, and it's the number one, without a doubt, what we need to sort out. But how much money does an Aurier and a Sissoko get you?
Exactly.
It'll get you maybe let's say 15 million each, that's 30 million. If we're looking to get a centre back to sort it out, that may cover an Andersen, but we need like a Skriniar. We need a dominating, like a Yap Stam, like a real domineering, massive dude that will just defend. So I just don't see the money we'll get from them. But we need to get rid of Winks. Maybe Winks will generate a bit of cash, being an English one. But saying the 2 quick sales it's very easy to go to the Deadwood.
It is. I think Harry Winks to Spain is an incredible move. Valencia have been touted as a signing for a potential destination for him. I think Winks to Spain, I think in Valencia he does well. Because in that Spanish style of football, when it's just slow, he's just being that metronome, keeping the tempo going. Or Italy, I think it really will suit him there. But yeah, look, there, like I said, a number of players that we could be moving on. Lighty Collects here is going mad about Christophe Galtier in the chat. He wants him as the next Spurs manager. We said it a bit earlier in the stream. You may not have been here, but the current situation is it does look like Christophe Galtier will be moving to Nice. He's also attracting interest from Napoli in Italy, but it looks like he wants to stay in France. And look, it's a very weird move, having just won the league with Lille, that he's moving down to ninth place Nice.
No, that's what I was just thinking. That's a bit of a weird move.
It is. I can't make head nor tails of it. I know if Alex, your expert, is here, he might be able to offer us a bit more insight. But it's when you're looking at the top 5 leagues in Europe, 3 of their managers are leaving, the winners. Hansi Flick is moving from Bayern to Germany. You have Christophe Galtier leaving Lille, and you have Antonio Conte leaving Inter Milan today. It's a really weird kind of circumstance. But
this is the thing, when it comes to this, and you're in the kind of position we're in, Matt, when you think as a chairman and as an owner, and you're seeing Spurs tumble down at a rapid rate, and especially with your persona at the club being really, really as low as it's ever been right now, you'd think, right, I need to. If you're a decent human being, you think, right, I've got to start righting some wrongs here. I'm going to go out and do something. You'd think now would be the time to strike. Now would be the time to strike, because obviously next season, I don't know how many people will be in the game. Please God that the vaccines work and the coronavirus is a thing of the past. But we could be close to a full stadium or half a stadium. And then you've got to think, how many of those people are going to be Levy in or Levy out? So this could get toxic at the start of the season if he doesn't make the right moves this summer. And you think, going back to the manager, he also came out and said this will be done before the season's over. Another lie.
Yeah. And there's one point I've seen on the manager, and we're going to bring in Will to ask him on this one. Will, I apologize there. I don't know what was going on with my Twitter. But we've got you. You're here now. I saw a point, I think it was actually Cody Mack who made it, who said that if the appointment for Spurs isn't made before the deadline for season tickets is done, does that worry you about who the manager is going to be?
I would say no, not really. To be honest,
really?
I mean, does it worry me that they don't know who they're going to pick? No, I mean that's fairly obvious. I think. I don't know. I'm a little bit upset about the whole situation, to be honest with you. So makes it tough for me.
Yeah, I think it's every Spurs fan is in that situation. But I don't know if you saw my video earlier, Will, but I think Antonio Conte is going to be the next manager of Spurs. I think it'd be great. Do you think it's going to happen?
I think. Look, if you want to keep Harry Kane here, I think he's probably one of only maybe 2 or 3 available managers that could probably convince him. That would be Conte, Allegri, and Zidane. And Daniel Levy.
Really good point.
And Daniel Levy probably wouldn't get along with all 3 of them. So,
yeah. Well, that's a great point, Will, because you think about it. Conte, I didn't even look at it that way. Conte is probably someone that Harry Kane might go, oh, wait a minute, they may be changing. But he's now looking, it's like, do I get 200 million in my pocket or 150 million? Or do I actually get a football manager that can manage? And of course, he goes, oh, money. And he starts chasing the carrot. And that's what's going to happen. We are such a mess.
Yeah, we really are. And it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. I keep going back to something Alistair Gold said a couple of months ago as the one kind of shining light for me, and it's that he doesn't think Enoch will be in charge of Spurs in 10 years' time, and it's just counting down the days till they move on and sell the club. But we're stuck with him for now. Will, you mentioned Zinedine Zidane there. His future at Real Madrid at the moment is up in the air. He's recently quoted as saying that he thinks Real Madrid would be a better team without him. Do you think there's any potential of Zidane being the next manager of Spurs?
I mean, right now, there's, according to if you're on Twitter for more than 10 minutes, there's a potential for everybody to be manager.
Laura the Explorer.
Look, do I think that Zinedine Zidane plays necessarily a style of football that would work at Tottenham Hotspur? Probably not. Do I think that he's got probably a lot better man management skills than, say, somebody like Graham Potter or Scott Parker? Sure, absolutely. I mean, he's dealt with some of the biggest egos in world football, right? So, I mean, do I think that he would be a good person to help flush out the deadwood and kind of get the dressing line in a boot camp type shape, sure, I think he would be.
The other problem you got with that is you look at it, and Zinedine Zidane, wherever he goes as a manager, it's kind of like whenever Jose Mourinho goes, that is a name that you want to play for. That is it. Like if you hear Zinedine Zidane's name mentioned, you're like, I want to play for him. That guy is a goddamn legend. But then it comes down to finances. And is he going to get if we have I'm not saying a big cut like a £150 million player, but let's just pick up. Let's try and find a player. Let's say Skriniar. Is Levy going to say, right, okay, I'm going to pony up 75 million? No, he's not. So it's good that I think you're right, Will, with the fact that it will certainly get the deadwood out. Look how he handled Bale. It was like, piss off, I don't even want to know you.
Reguilon, other people that he didn't like,
then you look at it. So that's what you look at. If Reguilon comes in, what happens if Zinedine Zidane comes in? That means we're back to Ben Davies because Reguilon's not playing.
Well, at Madrid he had other options, right? So here, I don't think that he didn't pick Reguilon for maybe a personal reason that was pushing him out. I could be wrong, but here he doesn't have any other options. It's Sessegnon, Reguilon, or Davies. Those are his only options. And I see Zinedine Zidane picking the person that he sees best fits his system in order to get the success that he envisions based on his tactical ability. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's negative.
I do think that manager who can kind of make those tough decisions and doesn't kind of hold back from those. I think Zidane would probably have had experience in the past of being part of a team where managers cut other players out, and he would have seen how it was advantageous for the players that were there, for the squad as a whole, and for the managers as well. I think him having that experience both as a player and a manager playing for teams who have won a lot, but Real Madrid has won 3 or 4 Champions Leagues for them, I think could be a very, very good thing if he were to be the next manager of Spurs. I just want to take a quick look at the current betting odds for this now, not from a gambling point of view, but just look at kind of who is most likely to be the next Spurs manager. And at the top there, just zoom this in a little bit because I think it's hard to see there. But at the top, it is Antonio Conte coming in at 7-4. You've Eric Ten Hag, Roberto Martinez, Pochettino, Graham Potter, all at the top there. Zinedine Zidane is an outsider at 33-1. He's 33-1 there with the likes of Thomas Frank of Brentford, Simone Inzaghi of Lazio, you've Mason Fonseca, Glasner, who has today gone to Eintracht Frankfurt, so I don't know why he's even there. But so many names here, and I've seen all these names. I've seen stories linking every one of these managers to Spurs from so-called journalists. But at the top there, it is Conte. Look, I suppose Julian Lopetegui from Sevilla, not the worst option. Brian, what are your thoughts on Brendan Rodgers? I don't think it's going to happen. He said himself it won't, but look, anything is possible.
Before I talk about Brendan Rodgers, I'll tell you what we should do. If we did get Zidane, we should just register him as a player again and play him in midfield because we need that position. so just make him player manager. Brendan Rodgers is a fantastic manager. And you can see what he's doing at Leicester. He's got a very settled team. Who in their right mind would leave Leicester, who to me is one of the best run clubs in the entire world, from top to bottom, their fans, their community, the club, the players, the scouting network. Why on earth would you want to come to Tottenham Hotspur? Why on earth? I can't see it. The one thing I will say about Brendan Rodgers, and it's kind of like the thing Pochettino had, he only has option A. He always plays the same way. There's no, okay, this isn't working, let's change it up. I think he did it a couple of times last season, but even at Liverpool, he completely keeps the same formation. It's like, if it doesn't work, we'll try again. We'll try. So that's my reservation with him, but I don't think he even came out and distanced himself. No one in his position would want to leave Leicester to come to Spurs right now, and I'm including players.
Yeah, and that is a very painful thing to accept as a Spurs fan. And I said it, I think it was the week before the season ended, that I remember watching Leicester lose that playoff semi-final to Watford the day Anthony Knockart missed that penalty, and having so much pity for that football club. Like, it was, part of it was feeling bad for them and wishing well for them, but a lot of it was just pity and just feeling so sorry for anyone with any interest in that club. And here we are 7 years later. They've won a Premier League title. They've been in the Champions League. They have a better squad. They have a better manager. They have a better recruitment process. And I'd do anything to be Leicester right now. And it's heartbreaking, the decline that Spurs have had. Before we go on anymore, there is an update here from Get French Football News on Christophe Galtier, just because I see a few people still mentioning him in the chat. Lille received an approach from Nice to negotiate a deal to buy Christophe Galtier out of the final year of his contract, which is probably why Galtier has left. It would appear that Lyon had also been in for Galtier but failed there. So at the moment, it does seem to be between Nice and Lyon for Christophe Galtier, and it's looking like he will be going to Nice, as we did expect. Will, you any hope on Brendan Rodgers?
Look, I think Brendan Rodgers would probably be good at getting the best out of what we have. But I am a little bit worried and cautious about his reputation for not being able to get things over the line. And so, I mean, that because the mentality that we have right now is very, very soft, I guess would be the kind word. I'm really trying not to piss off the people in your chat. I'm trying really hard. So yeah, Brendan Rodgers, don't hate it, don't love it.
Yeah, I think of the options that are there, Rodgers would be ahead of them in my pecking order. But like I said, I don't think it is realistic, and I would rather there was a manager that was kind of more likely to get us over the line, because look, Rodgers won everything there was to win in Scotland. But I think when you're with Celtic, when Rangers aren't even in the Premiership for quite a while, I think it is a very, very different story. Look, before we do head off, guys, because I do kind of want to watch that Europa League final. Brian, 3 players in, 3 players out this summer. Who would you pick?
Okay, so I kind of said on Will's show when I was on Sunday, the 3 players I'd get out are Dele Alli, number 1. I've just had enough of it. To me, he's like Emmanuel Adebayor. He gets a contract. He works hard for his contract, then falls off. So it'd be him. It would be Aurier and Eric Dyer. And the 3 players I said would be, this is obviously, I'm thinking Kane's in, even though I think he's gone, because that's a whole different ball game. Max Aarons, James Ward-Prowse, because I think his set pieces and everything is something crucial that we need to fix and vital. And then I want Skriniar, but I'm going to be realistic and say Andersen, because Skriniar's just not. So that would be my 3.
It's a decent summer, if you ask me. I'd take that right now. Will, 3 in, 3 out.
Only 3 out.
For now.
Dele,
Robert Yee says the same.
Winks, Dyer.
Okay.
That would be my first 3. And then in would be Grealish, Bailey, and Skriniar.
Are you saying Leon Bailey or the United centre half?
Leon Bailey.
Leon Bailey. Okay, I thought you meant the centre half there. I was about to kick off my stream. Yeah, look, another good transfer window there. I'd be happy to see. For me, I suppose if we're hearing Sissoko and Aurier are out anyway, we might as well throw them out and get Eric Dyer out as well. Bring in Andersen. Bring in an attacking midfielder, Sabitzer, if it's realistic, I suppose. And Joe wouldn't mind Leon Bailey, actually. I'd take him as well. Max Aarons, if we need a right back, would be good. Even Zeki Celik at Lille. So I'm going to force you to pick 3, but I'm going to pick 5 because it's easier. But look, we are going to wrap it up there, lads, because I want to get up and watch that Europa League final and watch Etienne Capoue and Juan Foyth beat the living crap out of Manchester United.
That's how bad it is. They're in the Europa League final, and we're sitting here watching it.
Wouldn't that be great if Juan Foyth goes and wins a Europa League on loan?
When he goes on 1 season on loan and he goes and wins a trophy. And I have to say, you know the worst thing about it, I have to win, when you realise not only did Leicester display the FA Cup on Sunday, but their women's team did a lap of honour with their trophy at half-time. So Leicester City have won more in a month than we've won in 20 years.
Sorry, James, I said Winks.
James has had this on record that no one said Winks. Steve here saying Aurier, Dyer and Winks have to go. James says Ward-Prowse is class, and Steve as well says there are players I want to get rid of way before Ali. But look, guys, we're on 195 likes and there's still 360 people watching. So 5 of you, if you haven't hit that like button already, please go ahead and do that now. And 7 of you, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do it right now. We're looking to get to 7,000 subscribers. By the end of this stream would be ideal. If you want more streams like this with more incredible guests like these two, updates on Tottenham's pursuit of a manager and the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series throughout the entire summer, please smash that subscribe button. I can guarantee you won't regret it. Before we go, Brian, do you want to tell us where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me at Tottenham Away. We've obviously got our YouTube channel. The social medias are Tottenham_away. And for my personal Twitter, and I respond to everything on Twitter, is just BRI, which is short for Brian, obviously, and my surname, Daigle. So that's my personal. And you can find us on the Tottenham Away, and the Two Brians will be back on Friday.
Love it. Everyone make sure to tune in to Two Brians. It's always a fascinating show. And Will, let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, if you love Matty Hayes, come over to Will Stewart THFC Rants, and you can watch him and Cody Mack do a very good kind of summary of the seasons, this past year's season. And then also, too, you can check out all of our other shows. And if you don't like me, there are plenty of other people to watch on our channel. So don't let that stop you from coming over to THFC Rants and subscribing.
I can guarantee everyone here likes you, Will, and likes your thoughts. Maybe not ones on Twitter, but we'll leave that for another day. Everyone, do make sure to go over and check out these two channels. You won't regret it. As Will said, you can see me going through our entire season with Cody Mack, as we did this morning. The stream replay will be available there. To everyone who's joined us, crazy numbers tonight. I wasn't expecting it. Almost 4,000 people joining the stream over the last hour, a peak concurrence of 400, and we got up to 225 likes. Let's see where we are in subscribers just quickly before we go. Come on. Oh, we're two off. Look, we'll get it soon and I'll tweet about it.
Subscribe.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you to the two of you. Really, really do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in and watched. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon, hopefully with news of a managerial appointment for Spurs.